Hi, Daniel here with Scrapbook Maven. I have a quick little video tutorial to share with you. A few people have been asking how I cut my decorative edge on my flap and how I can line up my design paper with the decorative edge. So I'm going to just show you really quickly how I do it. I don't know if it's the right way, but I'll show you both ways that I do it depending on what I'm doing. So for this first one, I'm going to have my little pocket page. So it's going to bind right here, and I'm going to have my little pocket here, and then I have a little flap right here. So I want my decorative edge to be right here. So I just got some scratch paper here for my design paper, and say I want to have this design paper on the top of my flap. So what I've done is I've cut the paper so that it is longer than my flap from edge to decorative edge. As you can see, it overlaps. But from side to side here, you can see I have a nice little border on each side. So that's how I want it to be. So for my decorative edge, I'm going to line it up with the edge that I'm going to use my die on. So I'm going to use my Big Shot here, and the die that I'm going to use is the Tim Holtz Alterations Brackets die. So if you can see, I'm going to use this one right here with the point, like that. And so if you know what paper you're going to use ahead of time, the design paper, this is the easiest way to do it that I find. So I line my paper up how I want it on the page with the border that I want, all my edges parallel, and then say this is the paper I want for the back side of the flap. So I'll line that one up too, just how I want it, and I've cut it just the same where I have it longer than I need it here, but fitting my page like that. So I'll line it up on either side how I want it. Line it up with my base page on either side like that, and then I'm going to line it up so it's just overlapping this little point just slightly, because I want my flap the biggest that it can possibly be. If I didn't care how long or short it was, say I wanted to have a half flap, I can move my paper all the way up like that and it'll cut it right here. But I want a really large flap so I can get the largest photo possible to fit. And I'm just going to place it on my die as best as I can, getting it as evenly from side to side. You can get really anal and then measure where your middle is. Find your middle and say that's my middle. And then find the point on the bracket if you're using the bracket. And then line up the middle with the point. But I'm just going to eyeball it because no one really measures your mini album to make sure you're doing everything symmetrical. And then you're just going to make sure that it's lined up evenly so it's not angled. But it doesn't really matter if it is slightly angled because you're going to cut all your papers all at once. So I'm going to have it like this. And you could tape all of your pieces down, but that would be a lot of tape and a lot of extra trouble. But sometimes I think it would be worth it. So you're just going to hold it down, and my cutting mats, or whatever these are called, are really old, so don't look at them. And so then I'm just going to, I already have my other plastic piece below, then my die, and then my paper, and then this is going to go over the top. I'm going to stick that in, and I'm going to get my little finger in here to hold the paper in place as best as possible. And then I'm going to scrunch this paper down without letting it move, and hold that down so nothing can move and twist out of place. And then I'm just going to help move it in as far as possible, and then let it through, and then bring it back. Let's see, did I even? And then we cut, and it cuts through all three pieces. And then all we have to do since it's 6 inches and the die is only, I think, 5.5. You're going to have to cut the excess. Okay, so you're going to want to keep everything lined up how you had it when you took it out of the Big Shot, so that when you cut, everything is even. So I'm just going to cut the ends off, trying to mimic the shape of the bracket. So just cut little curves right there. And so this is our backside flap. This is this one. So what you do is just move it down to where exactly you want it. So you have your preferred border, about 1/8 of an inch, or if you want 1/4 of an inch or whatever. So you just bring it there. So you have your border all along these sides, and because you cut it longer than you needed it, now you can cut it to exactly the size that you want. So I have my pencil here. If you can see, I have my edge here. So I want it to have a similar border as these sides. So I'm going to cut it to right about here. And it'll probably be the same as my other paper. So I'm going to cut it both at once. Okay, and so they should all line up perfectly. So just bring it down to where you want it, like that. And then you can glue it in place. And it has a border on all the sides, and then it'll be the same for the back side. Just line it up how you want it. And then you have your border all around there for your flap. Now, if you're like me and you have your base pages all set up and you're going through your mini album and you're not quite sure which design paper you want for which page, and that's usually how I am. And so what I usually do is I do my decorative edge, and then I figure out what design paper I'm gonna use. So then I have to go back and, like, sometimes I cut my design paper and then it doesn't quite line up because I might cut it slightly off. So what then I do then is I just say this is not here, and I want my design paper to line up like this. So I want my decorative edge here. What I do is I line it up. So I want, say, this flourish design side on this page. I'll just put it back here. I'll line it up from side to side how I want it, so all the edges are parallel. And I lift it up past the decorative edge. And here then I can trace my decorative edge. And then I just cut it out. And then place it. And hopefully I'll have cut it larger than my flap, so that I can just cut off like we've done before, bring it to whatever border I want, spacing, and then just cut off the excess here. So that's what I do. Preferably you'd know what design paper you were going to use on either side before you use your decorative edge, so you could do it all at once. Or if not, I just the old-fashioned way and just trace it and cut by hand with scissors. So I hope that answered everyone's questions that have asked me about how I do my decorative edge on my flaps and with my design paper. And thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.